The great thing about social media and what I call information pipelines are they're uniquely customizable to our needs. But we have all these pipelines to use, but again, to understand them, because in the morning you may be talking to your kids, 10 o'clock in the morning you may be texting with your CEO, in the afternoon you may be emailing or video conferencing with a vendor. Just learn all the pipelines, but design them around your specific needs. What works for me may not necessarily work for you.
So what do you guys do when somebody is adamant about their communication method and you're adamant about your communication method?
I don't communicate by any preferred means. It's exactly what my client needs. I have some that if I text them, I get an answer immediately. If I email or call, it could be 2 or 3 days.
Right.
So it's all about what they need. So I have a note on my contacts list about how each one of them wants to be contacted. What their preferred email is if I'm newslettering, or what their contact is if I'm going to be called, if it's an emergency. It's all about what they need. I don't care what I prefer. It's whatever works in me getting into communicating with them.
Okay, so this goes back to the one-to-one, the multiple different channels of communication, and where sometimes there's an issue is somebody wants to text and somebody else wants to email, or somebody else wants to talk, and how do you make that decision? You kind of mentioned, hey, if they're a client, I'm going to just break that down a little bit more and say, hey, if they're giving me money, I'll communicate the way they want to communicate, right? and I'm going to keep track of how they do this, and that's going to make me a better communicator with them. And I'm going to say all social media does this. So people ask me all the time, do I really need to have a Facebook page? Do I really need to have Twitter? Do I really need to have this thing? Do I really need to have that? And the answer is, hey, if people want to do business with you, shouldn't you make it available as an option to say, yeah, I'll do business this way in a world where people are determining how they want to communicate, right? And so that was kind of the point I wanted to get across this morning is, do I need this? It's not that you need it. It's that you're providing some extra value to your clients or to your potential clients to say, here's an open opportunity for me to do a better job for you. Do I want to take it or not? It's kind of like, you know, do you take credit cards? Should anybody say no? If somebody's standing there saying, can I give you money? You know, do I need it? I don't know if you need it or not, but if somebody wants to give you that, maybe you keep track of that.
In terms of how people want to communicate, I have a number of my instructors that I can send an email to instructors, and some of them will see it right away, others won't. But I know the ones that won't see it right away, so I send the email, then I send them a text and say, go read your email.
Right.
And that works, right?
Yeah.
And then same thing with our members that are at the school. If there's certain people that I know I need to get something to them quickly, and I know that they like to text or any of that, then I just change it to that. And that was a stretch, or that was a change for me, because I would prefer to send an email. I'll see it if it's in my email. Some of my students will send me a text and I won't see it for a day. Right? And I tell them, well, if you want to communicate with me and me get it, you better either call me or you better send me an email, because I will see those. The others, I may not. But I try and reach out to them in the way they like to be communicated.
Who in here stays on top of all three all the time? If I text you, I'm getting it immediately. If I email you, I'm reading it and I'm responding within an hour. If you call me, I'm going to answer the phone, or I'm going to check my voicemail inside of an hour. Anybody? You need to be busier. How do you do that?
They all come into this.
So they all come there, so your work phone is this phone.
Right.
Okay, very good. Who else does that? So you use a Google Voice number. If I leave you a voicemail, you get a text of what that voicemail is. Basically, everything comes in the same way.
Yeah, platform independent.
Very good. And what is that called? Google Voice. You use that as well? No? Anybody else using that? Steve does?
I have something called Umail. It's the same idea.
So Umail? Okay, very good. So there's tools that can say, hey, you don't really need to think about it 3 different ways. Aggregate it, have it come into one place and respond. We're not deciding, do I check phone, do I check voicemail, do I check, or do I check email, do I check text? It's just, do you check when things come into you? How do I make sure it's only the stuff that's really important? I can't get Google alerts on 50 different things and 300 emails and 20 voicemails or 20 phone calls, and all of that works out because the day's over and that's the only activity. So maybe we'll have another conversation about managing that.